Hi everyone, it's Ken with Ken's Creations. Well, today I wanted to show some projects I made using the new Cricut cartridge Animal Antics. I made 2 cards with this so far, and I really like this cartridge. It was a Circle exclusive, and I was lucky enough to get one. And it reminds me a lot of the Create a Critter series, the first and second one. It features animals and some cute phrases. So this type of cartridge is one of my favorite cartridges, so I was very excited I got it. So the first card we made was for a recently acquired friend, I guess, from the Cricut Circle, and I wanted to make a card just basically thanking her for being such a good friend. So the card features the little penguin with the camera. Over here there's a little sentiment that says Circle of Friends, and then on the inside it uses the "we just click" phrase, and then it says, "Thank you for the new friendship, love, Ken." So if we look in the Animal Antics book here, we'll find out that I used the penguin, which was on page 31. So here's the penguin, and then the "we just clicked." So I'm going to show you what we did making this card, and what sizes I cut, and then we'll put together the cards. So before we go into Cricut Craft Room, I'm going to show you what we did on the outside and the layering of the paper. Then I'll show you the penguin in Cricut Craft Room, and then we'll show you how we put it together. So the card I used is just a yellow cardstock. It's a 5x7. The papers I used on the front, I used 3 different papers. So the bottom base is from Die Cuts with a View Grade School, and what I used in here is this circle pattern, which is right behind the penguin, and then I also used this yellow, I guess it's a crisscross pattern, and that was in the Die Cuts with a View Grade School. Now on the far left over here, I used that part of their new foiled cardstock stack. So this is brand new in Joann's, and it features just a lot of foil cardstock. So that is over here all the way to the left. And then on the inside of the card, the backing here, which is this box backing, I use the Die Cuts with a View All About Boys card stack. And it features a lot of boy themed, but it had this pattern which I used. So those are the different papers that were used in the card. So what we're going to do now is let's go ahead and show you in Cricut Craft Room the sizes I cut for the penguin and the "we just clicked, and then we will come back after that to show you all the other elements of the card. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and launch Cricut Craft Room. Now if it's been a while since you've been into Cricut Craft Room, it's probably going to prompt you to do an update. Recently Bravo Craft announced that they were allowing us to link our gypsies to our Cricut Craft Room. This was huge, huge news for me. I'd been waiting on this announcement forever. As soon as I had my Cricut Mini, I wanted to link all of my cartridges to Cricut Craft Room because I've fallen in love with this software. Now, you do have to update Cricut Craft Room, and you also have to update your gypsy. I do make the recommendation that while you're doing these updates, you're doing nothing else on your computer. I actually shut down all my background applications so that way my computer could just focus on the updates. This has helped me in the past, and it helped me this time too. It was as easy as 1, 2, 3 on the update, and so for me it worked beautifully. I do recommend going to Cricut's community forum, which is www.cricut.com/community. There is a topic heading there called Gypsy Linking. It is happening. And there was some people that unfortunately did have some issues and had to reformat their gypsies. So definitely recommend do some research, see if it's something that you even want to do. Are you going to use Cricut Craft Room? Is it a benefit to link all your cartridges? For me, it was huge. I never used my gypsy, never learned the software. So to me, it wasn't a great tool where Cricut Craft Room was. So definitely take a look at it, but for me, as you can see, all of my cartridges are linked, and this is huge for me. Yay, look at them all, woohoo! So we are working with Animal Antics today. We want to go ahead and set up our mat. We have it as Cricut Expression 2. It's a 12x12 mat. And then I cut my penguin at 4.25, and and I also cut the sentiment inside at 4.25. So I'm going to go ahead and change this default height to 4.25. I also want to set up my layers at the top. This is a feature I just learned. I actually was in the forum and someone said that they loved the layer feature in Cricut Craft Room. And I messaged her and said, I have no idea what you're talking about. What's this layer feature? And so I went digging and found out that you can add layers. And what's great about layers is it's a visual way to see on your mat what piece of the cut you're looking at. So for example, we're going to start with layer 1, which is my penguin. We're going to bring him up here on the mat, and he's going to be red. So that way, when I'm getting my mat ready, I can know what color paper to put there. Now, I like to make one cut. So I like to get everything ready, and then put my paper down, and then cut. So I'm only doing one cut and only using the mat once. For me, having this layer ability with the different colors is a huge ability. It is so visually, I mean, it just, you look up and say, oh, that's layer 2, that's layer 3, because of the color coding system. So if you haven't used that feature, it is definitely a feature worth looking into. So we're going to go ahead and keep adding all of our elements with the layer feature here. I'm going to go to layer 5. And we're going to bring each of those up here. And as you can see, here's all my 6 layers. So layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I'm setting up my paper, it's easy breezy, quick and easy. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and cut this out on our machine, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the sentiment. So let's go ahead and open a new project. Since I've already cut, I don't need to save this. And once again, we want to add the sentiment uses 4 layers. Now, as you can see, it gave me 2 different colors of pink, and one is lighter than the other. But I'm going to go ahead and click this arrow and go to color. And I'm going to choose a different color so that way I can visually see a different color. So that's how you can actually rename the layers. You can change the colors. You can delete a layer. So we're going to start with layer 1. We're going to once again go find Animal Antics. And we're going to go to phrase. And we're going to start by bringing in layer 1, which is the We Just Click. I did this at 4.25 because I do have a card that's about 5 by 7 inches. So I wanted the sentiment to be pretty big. Now, one other thing I love about Cricut Craft Room is you can move your image anywhere on your mat. So it's an easy click to where if I bring this up and I know it's going to run into my other image, I can manipulate it. Like I could move this one here, and then I can move this one down so I'm not running into it. The only thing you have to be careful of is you just want to make sure you're not in the yellow area, because it will not cut if it's in the yellow area. But this is just one of the reasons I love Craft Room, is because you can manipulate things, you can move it around on the mat, and you're not worrying about, like on the old machines, I would always have to put spaces in, since I didn't use my Gypsy, which I know people are out there saying, you're crazy, the Gypsy is amazing. And I'm sure it is. I know a lot of people loved it. It just wasn't for me. I was Cricut Craft Room all the way, so haters be hating. I know people that love the Gypsy love their Gypsy, and I'm glad they love their Gypsy, and I'm sure I would have loved my Gypsy too. It just scared me. I don't know if anyone else the Gypsy scared. I took a look at it and it scared me. I don't know why it scared me so much, but it did. I had nightmares over it. Well, maybe not nightmares, but I'm sure there's people that have nightmares over Cricut Craft Room and hate it, but I love it. Anyways, that was my rant and rave. That was fun, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm moving around my images so that way they don't need to be welded or anything with the other images. And we are going to go ahead then and cut this. Now this one here, as you can see, I don't really have room for it. So that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're actually just going to rotate it to where I do have room. So you can actually rotate this. I'm just going to say to rotate at 90 degrees, which will make it up and down. There it is. Another reason I love Cricut Craft Room. And there it is. You have room for it now. Yay! Okay, so we're going to set up the page by putting my different papers down. And what papers am I supposed to use? Well, look at that. Layer 1, Layer 2, Layer 3, Layer 4. So brilliant. Such a simple thing. Layer 1 through 4. Simple, but huge, huge visual expression of what to do. I mean, I love it. I love it. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and click this. We're going to not click it. We are going to go ahead and cut this, get my paper set up, and now we are ready to construct the card. So now that we have the penguin cut, let's go ahead and construct the outside of the card. What I'm going to show you right now is on the red foil here, we have this nice little border. Now, what I use to do that is the Fiskars Advantage Punch, which is this right here. I got this at Joann's about a year ago, and I have to say I really like this system. The system is actually designed for these bigger cartridges that pop in, that you can actually create some nice borders for cards or projects. So, as you can see, it makes a nice little border there. What we used it for is one of their traditional smaller pieces, which is this one right here that gave it the nice circle edge. So they actually make an adapter that just pops right in, and then this, make sure it will always come with little pieces that fold in like this, so make sure that obviously you open those and then punch in, and then you're going to bring it all the way over to the right. Now, one thing I like about this is there's a magnet right here that holds your paper into place. So this magnet makes sure that your paper doesn't move. So what we're going to do is show you how this works. We're just going to put our paper in, put the magnetic strip down, and then what you're going to do is just start punching, and then it's already preset to the next destination, so when you move it, you're going to hear it click. And that way you know you went ahead and moved it at the right spot. So we're just going to punch it again. Alright, and just like that, you have your nice border, which is going to be right there on the card. So the next thing we're going to look at is these little gems that are along the circle pattern here. This is actually something I've been doing a lot on cards. They're Rhinestones, and there's many different companies that make their own version. I have the Imaginus, and I believe they call it's the iRock tool. And it's just a little setter that actually heats up at the end here. So when you put your rhinestones on, they have an adhesive on the back, and it fixes to the paper. And this one runs on AA batteries, so very, very good tool. So down here I have a little tray that I also got from Imaginus, and we are going to go ahead and put our rhinestones in there. So I have this nice little tray, and we're going to turn this on. Now the way you turn on your iRock system here is there is a on and off here. So you just want to turn it on, and that's going to heat this up. And when you're ready to use it and you push this button, a red light will come on, and that will let you know it's getting hotter, and that way it will affix to the paper. So let's go ahead and position these where we need to. Now the tool I use to position any rhinestones is the Silhouette Pick Me Up tool, and it's a great little tool. It's got a little bit of putty on the end here, so to pick up gems is real easy. Go ahead and pick up our first gem here, put it in place wherever we need to on our paper. Let's see, right. And then once you have it in position, I like to make sure it's nice and centered. You're just going to take your iRock tool, and you're going to push the button, and that's going to show that it's on. And we're going to apply pressure there. Now the first one, it does take a little bit longer to affix to it. I believe they quote it takes 15 to 30 seconds. But the first one, you're going to want to put a little pressure on it a little longer. You'll know when the gem is affixed because you'll feel the adhesive under it move. So just go ahead and put it on there until you know it's affixed on there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to continue all the way down. Now I put them every other, so they're not on each of these little circles here. Alright, and then just go ahead, apply the tool on each of these until you're all the way done on the card. And as you can see, that will be on the card right here, and that is all done. So as you can see, we're going to construct the penguin next here. I already constructed him, so I'm going to show you the elements that I did. Right here, you'll see that there's some pink on each side of his cheeks. And then down on the camera here, there is a little bit of a glass look. Now, I do suggest doing these before you put it together so it has some time to dry. The pink, what I use for the pink is I just use the Dewdrop Memento. It's a fade-resistant dye ink, and my favorite color is Angel Pink. And I put cheeks up there because that way I can tell you that I use that. I use a little applicator. You can get this at Joann or Michael's, and I just put a little bit at the end. And then down here, all I do to make a circle is lightly dab it in a circular motion. You don't want to press too hard. If you press too hard, it will become too dark right away. So I actually just keep lightly pressing it until I get the desired effect of cheeks. On the camera, for the glass effect, which is right here, I used Stickles Frosted Lace glitter glue. And what I like about the Frosted Lace is it's one of the few offers that they, or one of the few glitter glue that they have that doesn't have glitter in it, which I know sounds weird, but as you can see when I put this on the paper, it gives it a glass look and there's no glitter to give it really a overly glitter look to it. So when this dries, it looks like a speckled glass or a cracked glass. So I suggest doing both of these things first before you construct your penguin, so that way it has time to dry. So here is our penguin. Now, when I constructed my penguin, if you've seen any of my projects or any of my other cards, I absolutely love to use foam squares or circles to give my projects some dimension. So, as you can see here, the dimensions here of the foam squares, I used a couple different ones to lift up the penguin from the feet and the camera from the penguin and also his nose and hat. So the different foams I used here, in between the penguin's feet and body, I didn't want a huge difference, so I actually used the Scotch foam squares. And what's different between this and another foam squares is they're a lot more, I guess the best way to describe them is they're softer than the others, so there's a lot more that you can, when you push down on it, it compresses it where it's not as thick as the standard, as you can see there. I don't know if you can see the difference. So that is what's in between the penguin and his feet. Now, in between the penguin and the camera, the penguin and the hat, or penguin in the nose and the penguin in the hat, I use the traditional little square foam pieces, which are this big. So, not very big. As you can see, pretty small there. And on the nose piece, I actually had to cut one of those in half because the nose is not very thick. So as you can see, it does give it some dimension here on the card, which is a nice little touch. The only other thing that we added at the very end, I actually got these right after Easter, and they're just a little button that was supposed to be for an egg. They were in an Easter pack. But I wanted to put a feather in his hat, so that is the little element I put there. And the last thing was I found this little embellishment at Joann's, and it just says Circle of Friends, which this is going to a Cricut Circle member, so I thought that was a perfect sentiment. So that is the outside of the card. We're going to go ahead and take a look on the inside of the card and see the different elements we provided in there. The inside of the card. I showed you in Cricut Craft Room how to cut our sentiment, which is we just click. This here is pretty straightforward. The only thing I did on it is I did add a little gemstone using my iRock tool right there. Now the background paper, like I said, is from All About Boys Die Cuts with a View Stack, and I didn't actually cut it down. As you can see, it's the perfect size, so it left enough yellow along my edges, which is what I liked. The only other things we added on the inside of the card is right behind here with the little smiley faces, I added a little piece of ribbon. The ribbon I like to use is called Offray Microspool. And the reason I like this ribbon is it has adhesive on the back. So you don't have to add any of your own adhesive. You just peel that little piece of paper off and it sticks right down on your project. The only other elements we added on the inside of the card were these two little smiley faces and my sentiment that says thank you for the new friendship, love Ken. These and my sentiment were all done on the silhouette cameo using the silhouette. I added some foam squares just to make it pop from the card, so that way when you open it, it's a little bit a 3D effect. It's popping off the card. Alright, so that is my first out of 2 projects using the new Animal Antics cartridge. If you haven't used the new cartridge, definitely flip through it. It is a fun cartridge and there's a lot of fun sayings and phrases in there. So hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you guys are all following my blog at www.creativeken, spelled with K's, .blogspot.com, and watching my other YouTube videos. Make sure to like them and subscribe. And I will be back with my next Animal Antics project. Alright, thanks everyone.